and welcome to this episode of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and sometimes guests, as today we have Simon Finch, guide you through the world of online communications in the show, which is the brainchild of the late and sadly missed John Popham. And as usual, we check on the weather. We have a weather forecast. Let's go to you first, Simon. Where are you and what's the weather like there?
Morning. I'm in Newcastle upon Tyne, northeast England, and I'm having a look out the window because I think it's kind of slightly sunny and grey, but also I'm freezing my buns off here, and so it's cooler than it looks outside.
Has your energy supplier cut you off earlier than predicted, Simon?
I'm just mean with my heat.
Put another jumper on. Sweyn, how are you? What's the weather like there?
I must say it's not very warm here either, and I'm also mean with heating. Outside it's pouring with rain, but every now and again we get a bright spell. I think that's what they're called when the sun comes out. Okay, but yes, Orkney is just typical February weather, but only for one more day because we're nearly in March, aren't we? Then
we'll be in spring. And here in Birmingham, the sky is kind of cloudy white, and it's been raining out. But I did get a walk, so that was nice. And I have the heating on full blast because I feel very cold a lot of the time, and I'm very happy to live in a sauna most of the time. I can afford, as long as I can afford it. So yeah, my supplier has informed me that my bills are going to go up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Me and other people.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at dates. Today is the 28th of February, and it's National Essay Day 2022. Do you want to read this one, Sweyn?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Pauline, sorry.
This is an annual awareness campaign promoted by One Freelance Limited and aims to celebrate the joy of essay writing that is free from formal academic requirements, to draw attention to the writing challenges students face, and to highlight the importance of timely writing assistance. It has a powerful historical background this day. It's the birth date of Michel de Montaigne, the author of the first writings named essays. He was one of the most significant philosophers of the French Renaissance, known for popularizing essays as a literary genre. And in his writings, he was never afraid to say what he really thought, no matter how unorthodox his ideas were. He explored the art of conversation, raising children, tackling loss and grief, handling sexual desire, reading, preparing for and understanding the reality of death, all of it based on his own experiences rather than the social norms. So I thought that was a good one for us to draw attention to, since we like to think we're not afraid to say what we mostly what we really think on this show. Don't know how unorthodox we are, but
if Montaigne was alive today, he'd be writing long Facebook posts or blog posts or something.
I think he probably would, and we'd be having him on the show to talk about communication and the art of conversation. So yeah, very good, very good. And on the 3rd of March, later this week, is World Hearing Day 2022, and this is the World Health Organization campaign. And on this day, this year, the World Health Organization will focus on the importance of safe listening as a means of maintaining good hearing across the life course. In 2021, they launched the World Report on Hearing that highlighted the increasing number of people living with and at risk of hearing loss, highlighting noise control as one of the 7 key interventions they wanted to emphasize, and stress the importance of mitigating exposure to loud sounds. So this year, the World Hearing Day has the theme "To Hear for Life, Listen with Care," focusing on the importance and means of hearing loss prevention through safe listening. And it has the following key messages. 1, it's possible to have good hearing across the life course through ear and hearing care. 2, many common causes of hearing loss can be prevented, including hearing loss caused by exposure to loud sounds. And safe listening can mitigate the risk of hearing loss associated with recreational sound exposure. And one last thing, WHO calls upon governments, industry partners, and civil society to raise awareness for and implement evidence-based standards that promote safe listening. So I don't know how you guys are on hearing loss and hearing, but
that reminds me of
my family.
When iPods were very first released. There was a lot of publicity about not listening to them for hour after hour at very loud volumes, and there was some move to set the kind of standard volume down a bit so that it didn't hurt people's hearing. I haven't heard much about that in recent years, but I assume it's must still be a thing to look out for. If you've got earbuds in and music blaring all the time, it can't be good for your ears.
What about you, Simon?
Walkmans, didn't they? Well, they used to say it about Walkmans too, and I think it's that natural kind of killjoying of new technology, as well as, it's tempered by good advice. But as you were reading that, I remember going to my first gigs, and it wasn't a good gig unless you had your head in the bass bin as a starting point. I mean, unless your ears, did that itchiness of when they were rattling around in your head. And I since ride a motorbike that hasn't got any baffles in it. So. I'm basically listening to the pair of you by Braille today.
Well, hopefully our hearing will last for the rest of the show. Safe listening. I hadn't actually heard the term safe listening before, but I get the message. All right, yeah. So moving on to events. Here's one that I'm actually going to tonight. Hopefully, all being well. The Midlands Women in Tech are doing a session on the traits of a good tech leader. They're actually doing a series of roundtable events across the year to share knowledge and experience to develop female tech talent in the Midlands. And in this session, we're going to hear from 5 local experts in the tech sector who will be sharing their own thoughts as well as taking questions from the audience. So if we can think of some intriguing questions to ask about traits of a good tech leader, I'd be happy to take them to the meeting. What do we think are traits of a good tech leader? Start off with 10. Sweyn, do you want to wade in here and think of one or two?
I think many of the traits of a good tech leader would be the same as any other sort of leader, like kind of enabling your team and listening to what the problems really are and thinking about what the team's trying to achieve. I sometimes think that tech invents a lot of stuff from scratch that could actually be imported from other areas, and I suspect this is probably one of those. I can't think of anything specifically technical that a good leader should have. But I don't know, Simon. Help.
Simon, what do you think?
I agree with Sweyn. I think that there's one of the things that I noticed about technology in terms of computers, which is sort of where I started, and then peripherals around that, because my background is teaching, so it's about computers and cameras and web and so on, was that the learning is not sequential. And so, that perhaps if you were going to be a joiner or trade in that, an artisan in that way, is that you would start on these things, these joints and things, and then you progress to increasingly harder things. But what you find, and the bit that is so exciting about working in tech, even now after all of these decades of being involved in it, is that you can meet somebody who has only just picked up a device, or only just joined social media, or only just joined your team. If we're talking about leadership, you can't presuppose that because they haven't been around as long as you, then they won't know the important stuff. And equally so, people who've been around for a long time may also have valid voices. So I find it a very, in the right way, it should be a very egalitarian thing, which would go across not just age, but also background, and also, as you've highlighted, gender too. And but having said that, I have a whole section on things that I do about females in gaming, for example, or females in tech, and there's no shortage of examples of the pejorative statements and the abuse that they experience online and face to face. So there's a great deal to be done in that. But I think probably my short answer of all those words was the egalitarian nature of technology, which means that a good leader needs to be open to that.
Yeah, good. I mean, I think my main thing about being a good leader, as Sweyn has said, and you have said too, it's kind of leadership, whether it's in tech or any other field. And it's thinking well about the group that you're working with and what the needs of the group are, and noticing if people are being left out, because often it's the people who are sitting there not saying very much that may have something really valuable to add, and also age doesn't give you all the intelligence, and neither does youth, and we can all learn from each other. So I'd be looking to make sure everybody's involved at the level they want to be involved, and don't want to embarrass anybody, but make sure everybody gets a chance to say something.
It is great that there are events available for all sorts of categories of people on all sorts of subject topics. to discuss all this. Don't let me suggest that I'm disparaging this event in any way at all.
No.
But I just, in general, the tech sector, I think sometimes there's a kind of a reinvention going on about some of the non-technical aspects of the tech sector in terms of human relations and, you know, equity and all that sort of thing, which I think a lot of high-profile tech leaders need to take some of that stuff on board more from other sectors than perhaps they do.
Sure. Okay, and another event that we've picked up that's on tomorrow is Introduction to Digital Marketing, and like this is one of those things where everybody thinks, we know all that, but actually new people are coming into the market and new products and new platforms are coming on as well. So I thought this was useful to point out this is happening starting with the very fundamentals of marketing, from understanding demographics to idea generation. And even that phrase actually made me think last night, am I sure that I know what the basics are for Introduction to Digital Marketing? So I might sign up for this myself tomorrow if I've got time. Attendees at the event will work together on a fictional brief in an effort to build a marketing strategy for the long-closed Stoke-on-Trent ABC Majestic Cinema, and attempt to figure out how to make it relevant to people in 2022 using a combination of print, internet branding, and digital marketing. So I thought that was pretty good. I think Stoke-on-Trent, that's where Emma Rogers hangs out, isn't it? That's her fiefdom. So she might be involved in this, but I thought it was good to see an introduction to something happening that we kind of take for granted, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I think we know about, yeah. Okay, and so we welcome formally our esteemed guest for today, Simon Finch. Simon, we're delighted you could join us again on the show. Every time we think about online safety, we think of you, obviously, and you're referenced on the show from time to time, and it's always great to have you back on the show. Just for those who aren't familiar with Simon's background, he's an online safety expert, and he presents some guides on that and safeguarding in a wide range of technology and learning related topics. And he has 30 years experience in UK education, as he said it himself earlier. And he works to help young people become confident, creative, and safe digital citizens. So welcome back to the show, Simon. We're delighted you could join us today. And we talked, as I say, about online safety, a fair bit in the show. And early in this month, obviously, was Safer Internet Day. So we thought it was great to have you back on the show to kind of talk about that now that's at the end of that month. And of course, recent political happenings have focused the mind greatly on cybersecurity and online safety. So we'd really be interested to hear how your month has been with Safer Internet and what your thoughts are generally at this time.
Oh, thank you for having me back again. That's very kind of you, and it's good to be here. Yes, Safer Internet Day is an international event and day that has taken place for, I don't know, 10 years or longer. And I have written about this on my website. There's a blog post about what's the point of Safer Internet Day. And what we should say is there's a great deal of good work that happens on that day. And what Safer Internet Day isn't, is it is not the only day that you think about being safe online. Having said that, it clearly is the only day that people are thinking about being safer and teaching children and telling children how to be safer online. And I'm a member like you. I'm in a lot of online groups, and I work extensively across the sectors and so on. And so it is disheartening to see every year messages saying, has anybody got a video I can show on Tuesday? It's the second Tuesday in February, so that your little heart dies a little bit each time that happens. And also against that is, across the world, there's awareness of all that has been done, and that it should be a celebration of all that we have done in the year or since the last time, so that you do see pockets of positivity, but overall. But I think, is that not true of all days? If we talk about Women's Day, for example, is that there would be a desperation of Jesus in 2022. is that all they give us?
There is a school of thought in communications, and it's mentioned in a couple of Facebook groups and other forums that I kind of lurk in. Although I'm mainly an IT person, not a comms person, I do kind of seem to be in some of those groups. There is a school of thought that says, "Death to all awareness days. We hate them all. What we need to focus on is our organizational strategic priorities and so on and so on." I can kind of understand that if you're the one in an organization who has to keep, as you say, coming up with something cool for each of these awareness days. And as we've proved on this show over the year, there's never a shortage of awareness days to point to.
No,
but I think they all suffer from what you're saying there, Simon, that it's a potential way for people just to kind of tick a box and not do enough else on other days.
The final slide, the introduction about me is that I provide support online across each of the channels. You were showing the Facebook page, and there's a Twitter account and Instagram account. So every day I am trawling and finding and making these things really available. And then what was face-to-face work and then now is face-to-wall work is delivering courses for young people and adults that work with young people, and then also specialist groups as well, charities and so on. And the final slide for all of those adults that are working with young people is model, embed, and engage. That's what I write at the end. And until we model positive digital citizenship, until we're showing and engaging, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is how adults, responsible, empathetic, creative, kind, and safe adults are behaving online. Then what chance the children? 20, 30 years ago, we would have been talking about smoking and alcohol, and they do that because children choose to do that as primary school children because they see all of the cool people doing that. So, you need to think about what these role models are. And so we don't see much in the way of a change from that. And so that there is a desperation that until we show young people, if we talk about young people, and there are other people not safe about being safe online, but if we talk about young people, because the hope is for the future, we'll start with the children in nursery and key stage 1, that if we show them how to be kind and empathetic and safe digital citizens, then their children will be safe too. But we don't see any evidence of that. We will certainly see a day and there are benefits of that. But it is embedded into the curriculum. It is there in keeping children safe in education, which is it's such an important statutory document. It is there in Ofsted in terms of safeguarding. So it is absolutely there. But I was delivering, so also linking how my month has been, I was delivering a course last week about stalking. So we'll talk about stalking in a bit. And I delivered this course about online technology-assisted stalking, and I do this talking, and it's a distressing and informative and useful course. That's really how it comes out. So, any questions for Simon at the end of it? And one female said, "I would just like to ask: is there any of this stuff for children? Is anybody showing children how to be safe online?" And she must have seen a tear form in my eye as I. But I mean, that wasn't an implied criticism of me. That is a parent who is saying, "Do you not think we should be talking about online safety and showing kids how to behave in 2022?"
Yeah.
And that would be a parent who almost certainly was a digital citizen themselves back in Bebo and MySpace and so on. Just by
it's a bit like waiting until the 50s to talk about road safety.
Well, yes, it's so. So there is all of that, so that we remain positive and recognize some of the achievements, and also there is a desperation that here we are in 2022. I could have highlighted some of the things that I've been talking about. So, for example, new headlines last week. If you're watching, you'll see them on my site. I mean, I pull them out, so you see they're all on the site for you. That children are not safe if they go into Roblox, which is, Roblox is the meat and veg of online gaming, along with Minecraft and Fortnite and so on. They're absolutely, it's your CBBS place to go. And parents and parents will say, well, my child is safe, they're over there in Roblox, and that's where it is. And yet, how could they ever be safe if what you're doing is allowing them to mix with anybody else on the planet who has got an internet connection? And as a paedophile, the first place I'm going to go is where kids are hanging out. So that if it's a game that's aimed for 3-year-olds that has got a social element, then that's where I'm going to go. You know, and in analog days, it was to the park and to the swings and be a sports instructor. And you know, it is so, and yet it is headline news when it appears. And we continue to see this. And I realized that my website is full of 10 years worth of news and resources and stuff. So I curate this stuff and I put it over onto that Facebook page. I put it on the Twitter page. I put it onto the internet, and I do all of that stuff. And and this isn't a feel sorry for Simon moment. This is a state of, you're asking me for a state of the nation. You know, where are we up to? Is that if this was an analog thing, it would be a free newspaper. Of online safety, how to keep yourselves and your children safe online. You talk about online security, so we put that in there about scams and all that stuff, and it's a free thing, and it is in your local shop, and it is on the tables in the pub. It's even every meter down the bar. There'll be a pile of them. There'll be a pile of them at the football stadiums. There'll be a pile of them at the clubs that you'd go dancing in. There'll be a pile of them everywhere, and nobody picks them up. Nobody picks them up because we say that we're interested in online safety. We have this kind of little thing of a day, but nobody really is. And you can see that and I know that you, Pauline, you see a lot of my posts because I can see that you see those. And you will see that I don't go fungal. I don't go viral. You know, I post something really interesting and it usually gets no retweets or no likes. I'll get 1 or 2 likes. That's what happens because I'm constantly reminding people of the dark side and the failing of our existence. Whereas people want the shiny toys and the sequins and and they want to move beyond that. And so so you asked me how my month has gone. In a sense, Safer Internet Month is the worst month of the year because it highlights how little progress we have made. And also, you know, I'll keep saying it because there may be some people listening to this who say, but I did a lot of good things. Well, yes, you did. Of course you did. You know, there are some people who are doing great things on this planet against all adversary. And so the other thing that I was just mentioned, tell me when to stop talking.
Carry on.
Oh yes, we will. Don't we?
I know.
No danger yet. No danger.
It's just there's only me and the dog here, and you see this every time. I could have chatted. He's not very chatty. And so the other bit, which is also as part of the State of the Nation thing, is the rise in the number of requests and bookings from my stalking course.
That's very concerning.
And we can temper that with, so that the stalking course came about as I'm in Newcastle, Gateshead is across the river. There was the most horrific murder of Alice Ruggles in 2016, and as a result of that, as often when a child dies, there'll be a review, and when there's a domestic homicide or a homicide within so that everybody, the police and the local authority and the organisations, need to step back, look at the policies and review. One of the outcomes was we need to have awareness raising for adults who support victims of domestic abuse and stalking so that they are better equipped to provide support. And that's what the course is that I do. So it's actually technology assisted, talking about how social media and devices, hardware, are used to control and oppress and undermine and instill fear in victims. And what is interesting is that certainly Gateshead were booking my time. They, you know, in a sense, they had to and chose to, and that was good. And what we can see is that during lockdown, the rise in domestic abuse, that was a news thing. And we have the 16 days of action that takes place in about October. Is that right?
I think so.
It's October and November, and so I'm now seeing block bookings of this course, for the next 2 years from organizations, and one level that is very nice. I put a lot of work into it. It is a good course, and I want to see it out there, and also it is a desperate line in the sand of where we're up to, because without doubt, and we were talking about my last slide of model, embed and engage, and the first slide or thereabouts of these stalking courses is that you will know a perpetrator and a victim. You just don't know who they are yet.
Yeah.
Because what is clear to me is that in terms of stalking, of online harassment, and of privacy, we're all on a spectrum of casually looking at somebody's phone or asking where you're going or judging what they are wearing, through to the full gaslighting behavior. And this technology and social media and handheld devices, mobile phones, have all enabled the stalker and the abuser, and there is no technology really to support the victim within this. So, and you can see that it looks like, and the Susie Lamplugh Trust there's a quote from somebody there that says, it just appears that all of this technology and all of these services that you can subscribe to are there to legitimize the behavior of the controller and of the abuser, and there is nothing there to support the victim. So it's not funny, it's not a very entertaining talk, but you ask how my month has been. And it says both of those are somewhat bleak lines in the sand of where we're up to in 2022. And we should also kind of qualify that with the online safety bill, online harms bill, now rebadged as the online safety bill, I think. And there are, in a sense, it feels like mother and apple pie, which is the organizations need to do more, the police need to do more, there needs to be greater education, we need people to be able to behave better. And then, so what comes from that is not necessarily clear. But also within my course, I highlight that there have been developments. So, for example, revenge porn, posting images, intimate images without consent, is a custodial offence now. You know, and more importantly, the threat of posting those is also an offence now.
I didn't know that. That's good to know as well. Yeah,
the threat is more important than the posting in that sense, because it's, you know, if you don't do as I say, then this is what I will do. I will destroy you.
Yeah.
And so
well, the last time you were on the show, Simon, I think we were talking about talking to people about being safe online and changing the conversation from not if you get if something happens, if you get scammed, but when and what, you know, the plan, what to do when that happens. And I have found that very useful in the conversations I've been having with older people, because forewarned is forearmed, and they actually welcome the opportunity to talk about what they're going to do, you know, when something bad happens, because it just makes it gives some reassurance. So I'm glad to be able to tell you that that's been effective. And I would hope that, you know, while I wouldn't want to have to recommend your courses to anybody, I know that they're important. You know, do you know what I mean? It's like we don't want to think about this side of things because we're busy trying to get people online and kind of reduce digital exclusion. But the fact is that there are inherent dangers in it, and we need to be mindful of that and warn people who are less well informed than we are at the moment.
I think no, absolutely, and that is good news. And I was looking sideways because I was on the cusp of being scammy, being a victim.
Right.
About a month ago, I was trying to see what the name was. It must have been like a credit card thing. It was a name that I didn't know, and I got a text that was, you know, was asking about was saying that something had happened and I needed to contact them about what was going to be bank details and so on. And it looked authentic. And this is one of the things, is that it's like car theft. Did I mention this last time? Which is that, you know, so I'm
it's worth repeating, even so.
It's that with car theft back in the 80s, I don't know how many cars I had stolen. 3 or 4. So I'd lost.
Right.
I mean, I come from Teesside and I live in Newcastle, so I'll just leave those things out. I come from cities, you know, from urban areas, and so that you started with a crook lock, this bit of metal that went from your steering wheel thing, and so that the thieves would kick that off, and so that there was a gear stick lock, I forget what that was called, that was more secure. And then we got car alarms, and so that you had this fob, and it went on the doors and the lights, and as I was teaching kids then, we said, sorry, alarm won't stop me, all you have to do is put a screwdriver in the indicator. And so what happens is that you get layers of sophistication of crime.
Yeah.
And so that when I remember we had community police coming to our houses to talk to us about, you know, being safer, and they said, put a security light on the back of the house. And I said, well, will that stop you being burgled? He said, it'll make them go next door. So the pop intensity will let go.
Yeah.
And so that when you were talking about, if you talk about older people online, but if any of us that are going to be victims online, you're just trying to make them go next door.
Yeah.
To have a level of precaution, whether it's antivirus or whether, it's about having a different credit card for being online. You're just trying to manage the risk, so that we can enjoy the opportunities that being online gives us. So that with my parents, they in the end they had a tunnel under online, which is they would go to my mother could buy Amazon vouchers for the grandchildren. That was that was sort of the channel. Anything else was just far too. We weren't going to be booking flights or anything like that. So that's okay. So when we're talking to people being online, which is the same as we were about teaching them how to use computers back in the day. You don't have to learn, this idea that and you maybe have been part of this, because certainly I was adult IT lessons where you dragged them with beads of blood on the forehead through spreadsheets and databases and word processing, when really the kind of activities that we got to is, would you like to plan your allotment? Let's do something which is going to be useful to you.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the risk and the opportunity and mitigating the risk to the best of our ability, so that so that you can enjoy the wealth and the riches, of being online, and the social aspect and all of those benefits. So yes.
I was I should have checked before we started, Simon, but I'll ask you anyway. Did you see the BBC Three documentary Job Fished?
No.
It's about a completely fake design company that someone set up.
I saw all of this stuff,
and it tricked dozens and dozens dozens of people all over the world to do work for it without really getting paid in the end. And then finally it all fell to bits. It's a very interesting example of how even the most technologically savvy people can just be taken in to something that's entirely online and seems very real, when in fact it's a complete scam.
Smoke and mirrors thing with websites, simply by taking the logos, and an element of that was that because it was a design company, and the bit that you would check as a designer, something is who they worked with before. So there was 100 logos of Nike and Adidas and Chanel or whatever. I'm just saying names. So all of those logos are there, and you can create that illusion that you work with people. So in that case, they were a lie. And also, this comes back to the sliding scale thing, and we have people like myself will make a suggestion on our sites that we are bigger than we are. So, for example, I've done some regular appearances on BBC Radio, so that within that I could put the BBC logo as one of my clients. You don't even have to say clients. You just put Tim Finn online. Bit of BBC logo down there, and somehow you've elevated yourself. And so and this comes back to digital literacy. We talk about online safety, but the things we're supposed to be teaching are digital literacy and digital citizenship. So literacy is, how do we know what's real? How do we know what's fake? Literacy is about. I used to be an English teacher, so literacy was teaching about to understand author intention and persuasive writing, and what's the difference between fact and opinion, and about truth and lies, and we taught kids how to do projects on penguins and find facts and find fiction and do all of those kinds of things. And that's what we need to do in terms of supporting adults, so that they'll be able to work their way through the world that we live in. And so coming back to Safer Internet Day, one of the things that I thought was so important was that should have been a moment where adults said, tell me about your time online, or I will show you what I do online. But instead what you get is, and you'll see this approach in schools, is you will see adults privately on their devices and not showing the children, chastising the children for what they're doing online, but never saying, this is what I'm doing online and this is who I'm talking to. And so at this moment, what we're seeing is this fantastically huge amount of fake information coming out of Ukraine about videos of planes being shot down on tanks from 10 years ago, from 2 years ago, from different countries. And people will share that for the likes, because digital citizenship is about the number of people that follow me and the number of people that share my tweets and my posts. And so that what we need to be doing is instilling in the children about how to work these things out. But if you don't share it, then where are those models that we talked about before?
When you say, Simon, you were, close to being scammed, how close were you? Just because I think it's good for people to know that these things happen to us as well, almost, or whatever.
Bear with me while I start looking sideways. It doesn't mean I'm not listening to you, because I'll probably be able to find what it was, because I think it was a Twitter code. And I'll see if I can find, because there's an important thing that comes out of this.
Well, while you're looking for that, I can share one of my stories. About nearly being, I kind of got halfway there to a scam, I think, because someone sent me an email or a message, a message on my phone, and my friend's name was mentioned, and I just kind of automatically thought, well, that's okay. She, it's about my friend. I can trust this message and send it on or whatever. And I think I hit, kind of forward before I thought to myself, hang on a minute. I don't recognize that. I don't recognize who this message is from. I don't recognize the link. And I think I recalled it before it had gone out too far. But so for me, it was, the trigger was recognizing a name of a friend and thinking, that's okay. I can share that. So yeah.
And absolutely, that's how you do it. Is that you key into it. And that links to what I was saying about the BBC logo. Is that you give. Why don't I run one of my courses here? This will be quicker. And also it'll be less random, because I talk to children about, when you go on holiday and your parents take you to the bar and you have to sit quietly, and then your mum or your dad comes over, or whoever your adult is, and says, there's a couple from Newcastle over there, they're called Jim and George, and we're going to go and talk to them, we're going to have dinner with them. And there's this thing, because they come from the same town, that you can leave your wallet with them and they'll watch your towel and they'll be absolutely fine. There's just this blink of familiarity. And that is what you key into. And it's also a sales technique, which is that if I'm selling windows, then I'll just say to them, Pauline bought some of these windows last week.
Pauline bought them. Oh, perhaps I do well, yes.
If ever there was a connoisseur of windows.
Absolutely.
So I found the thing. So I got a text message that said, your new debit card is from Monzo. Your new debit card is on the way. So I haven't got a Monzo account. So that's, so you'd ignore that bit. But it says if you did not order your debit card replacement, follow the steps here. So and then there's a link to monzo-order.com. So first of all, I didn't know what Monzo was. And then secondly, what I'm now thinking is, this is one of those things where somebody's using my identity to get a credit card and I'm going to get the bill. So this is the concern that I have. I'm also thinking that because I've got some level of something, that could be a trick. But it does say Monzo in it, so that you start carefully doing a little 5-minute search around for that and then also Monzo scams. I'm not getting any of that stuff. But here's the bit that I thought was really interesting, which is that I could have messed about looking for a phone number on the website, and I could have phoned my bank and done all that sort of stuff. And I decided I would go to Twitter and see if they had a Twitter account, and then I direct message them. Now, I don't really like it. You see people shouting at Starbucks, hey, Starbucks, where's my coffee? Or what? And people say, the first level of complaint is to try to publicly shame the company. And I don't think that's right. You should give them a chance. So I direct messaged them and I said, I've received this message. Should I be concerned about it? And they came back with just really almost immediately with this, we're really sorry to hear this. It was not sent from us, blah, 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 blah. And they also said, I said, thanks very much for your swift response. So this all happened in seconds. And then I get that's great. Thanks for being so vigilant. Have a great day. And you get this, and so that the whole thing is this happy ending. And I can kind of get back on my day. And what I thought was really interesting about that was to be aware that social media has a positive in terms of the customer support. And you do, and I think that comes back to digital citizenship, that nobody wants somebody to stand up in the restaurant and say, this food is shit. You know, it's mine's a bit cold. Could you give us a, so you give them a chance to fix it.
Yeah.
And you've got a series of outcomes in your mind that are acceptable. And then more than likely, customer service is going to be all right. That's what's going to happen. So giving them that opportunity was such a good thing to do, and what a useful learning thing of a channel of support. So I got it sorted really quite quickly. And like I say, mostly it was about trying to work out if somebody was using my details to create accounts, which is very possible. Of course, it's not hard to do that, really.
And also, if people are contacting companies in the way that you did, it gives those companies awareness of how their own brand is being used and abused. And it could be that they could take some more proactive steps then to mitigate some of that based on the reports that they receive. So I think it's quite an important kind of part of the feedback loop for companies to be alert to how their name is being used, and try and make clear who they are and what isn't from them.
I get the sense, I'm certain, in fact, that the person that replied copied and pasted a standard answer, which makes me think that it's quite a common occurrence for them.
Would you think it might even be a bot? Chatbot?
You could have been talking to an AI. You could have been, yes. Exciting.
Well, I like to think that that's great. Thanks for being so vigilant! Exclamation mark meant that they'd rather fancied
personal.
me.
Yeah, I don't. That's the.
Well, obviously,
that's the more.
Got myself into some kind of customer service Tinder thing going on.
That's the more obvious. That's the absolutely.
I was polite. I used punctuation. There was no caps lock going on. I think that.
What's not to like?
Apart from, as Pauline pointed out before we went on air, my face.
I think that's a slightly misrepresentation of the conversation.
I look like the idiot child of Johnny Cash and Eartha Kitt.
I don't remember that bit.
Cut me deep, Pauline.
It was a fascinating piece on identity theft, which we discussed. Which we kind of discussed a bit now as well. So yeah, that kind of goes on.
I'm going to share something I've just found on your Twitter feed, and I think for no other reason than to see your dog.
What a lovely dog!
Beautiful, and who you call the head of security at Symphon UK HQ.
Yeah,
head of security. He looks very, very committed to his role, and he looks excellent on Twitter. And also, if for no other reason, follow Simon because of. I've forgotten the dog's name.
He's got a good-looking dog.
He's got a good-looking dog. Apart from being the pursued by every customer service agent in the land.
What can I do? It's not fair on the other fellas.
It's not fair. It's not fair on the other complainers. No.
While we have Simon on the show, Sweyn, let's go to the first story we picked up, which was posted by Jackie Taylor, who's going to be a guest on the show in the near future, following the situation with Russia and Ukraine. And this is from the National Cybersecurity Centre. And the headline is NCSC advises organizations to act following Russia's further violation of Ukraine's territorial integrity. And this was the NCSC calling on organizations in the UK to bolster their online defenses, which I'm sure we're all have heightened awareness of now. And the security centre is part of GCHQ, and it has urged organizations to follow its guidance on steps to take when the cyber threat is heightened. And while it's not aware of any current specific threats to the UK organizations in relation to events in and around Ukraine, there has been a historical pattern of cyber attacks on Ukraine with international consequences. And the guidance that they published encourages organizations to follow actionable steps to reduce the risk of falling victim to an attack. So if you can go down the article, Sweyn, and go to the guidance link, and maybe we can have a quick look at that as well, because there is a list of actions to take. If you scroll down that article, it's a whole series of things with plus against them. So if you just keep scrolling down there we go. So basically there's a list of things that we recommended the article, and we'll put the link in on the YouTube page once the program is finished. But basically, if I just read out the list of people who can't see it on screen, it says check your system patching, verify access controls, ensure defenses are working, something about logging and monitoring, review your backups, have an incident plan, check your internet footprint, something about phishing response, third-party access, NCSC services, and brief your wider organization. And some of those obviously have more pertinence with larger organizations, but I think I'm going to be advising, and I've put this on my digital literacy project page for Northfield Community Partnership. I think even small organizations need to have some level of awareness anyway, and a heightened awareness right now. Simon, what's your take on what's happening, or what you think, what the dangers are at the moment?
Yes. As he was speaking, I then had a little moment of, because online security in terms of business isn't my area of specialism.
Mm-hmm.
I have a kind of watching brief on it, but I don't pretend to. Similarly, I used to describe myself as the difference between a taxi driver and a mechanic, which is that I was the one that would take you to the places that you wanted to go to, and the mechanic and the person to make sure that that was possible. And so in the same way, that was never one for really knowing how to maintain networks. And in fact, I've just had to change laptops anyway, because a laptop kind of died, and it really took all of my skills and stuff, just to kind of make that happen. But it must have been middle of last year, I was asked for some support guidance for online businesses, which is what you just asked for. So as you were talking, Pauline, I've got a PDF. I could actually give you the Word document if you prefer as well. I'll send them to you afterwards, and then you can do something with them, which is exactly that, online security guidance for small businesses specifically, which goes through those pretty much the same headings, which is malware, phishing, ransomware, DOS attacks, and hacking.
And these are things that all organizations should be looking after, even in the best of times. And it's just, it's one of these, it's one of these highlight
Yes.
times. Just a good trigger to review the things that you have in place and make sure that they are adequate. And there's lots of advice available on this sort of stuff. Some of it from the NCSC, which is where we've looked this time. And I was just looking at my work email and remembering that on Friday we all staff had a message, which we get occasionally anyway, just saying, given the commencement of a military invasion of Ukraine by Russia, please note that there is an increased cyber threat posed by Russia, which will not be limited geographically to that area, and that Russia's a source of cyber attacks and blah, blah, blah. Therefore, while the military situation is confined to those locations, the structure of internet communications is such that we always like to say, in Orkney, far north of Scotland, should be extra vigilant. This is the point, should be extra vigilant regarding email containing links, website and social media activity, and in particular, any unexpected messages demanding urgent action, especially with web links or attachments, which you then need to open. And we should always be suspicious of those things. But I suppose the point here now is that, especially at the moment, because there might be more of them, there might be more effort by the bad guys, as you could see them, to actually get those into organizations. That's the brief your organization part. All the other bits on the list, we have people making sure that all of our stuff is secured, and they'll all be going through all their plans, just reviewing them. But even the smallest person, and even an individual, at the very least, needs to be aware of the heightened risk, because
definitely it comes down to, I was waving this is a separate hard drive, and it matters anyway. It matters as an individual, and it also matters as I run a business. I'm self-employed, and so these things matter. So that this means that I back up to my Google Cloud, and I back up to my Office 365 cloud, and I do that automatically, and I do that manually. And there are things that if I'm working hard, and we used to talk about this years ago, which is that, think about how long it takes you. People used to ask you, when should I save a document? well, how long did it take you? If it took you 4 years to type 2 sentences with 2 fingers, then then save after every letter. And if it, you can speed type, and don't do that stuff. So that I then back up to the cloud, and then I also back up to, and I have 2 drives. And so you're thinking about, well, what if my house sets on fire? Well, then the cloud is important. What if I've got no internet connection? Then the drive is important. And then I also wait, it's like I'm prepared, isn't it?
You're very prepared. You're clearly diligent in using these things because they're immediately to hand.
But because this one is going to, I back up the my presentation so that then when I'm going to go out of the house and go to the place that I'm going to, it will be in the cloud and it will also be in my pocket, so that you then have this mitigation of risk thing.
Absolutely.
About, so that if I have an accident where my hands fall off, then none of that is relevant anymore. But if otherwise, no internet or if I don't have my own device, then there's
a whole lot of jargon and technical talk around preserving backups and so on. But it basically boils down to keeping adequate copies in enough places of things you don't want to lose. And the more it would cost you to lose them, the more effort you should be prepared to put into saving them.
Absolutely.
I like keeping a presentation on a memory stick, because in the past I used to just email myself a copy of a presentation, but of course you turn up at a venue and the places I go doesn't necessarily have Wi-Fi, so you're stuck.
Within that, my phone, it's like a little product placement. Wherever you look, there's my little thing. You can buy phones with my.
You don't need to attend that course on Introduction to Digital Marketing, that's for sure.
But I tell you what all of this is about, is that when you go to events, and I expect you both go to the kind of events before COVID decided, where there's a lot of people in the room, and you put your device down, and then at the end of the meeting, people then go to pick stuff up, and it's a lot harder to walk off with somebody else's
branded
if it's got their picture on it. And
I use yellow tape for that. Yellow tape on everything.
Very sophisticated Sweyn.
And it just stops it, when you're all reaching for all of those power packs for you, so that nobody's taking it, and that's that. I
have to say the memory stick, particularly the high capacity ones these days, is one of the most underrated technical advances of possibly ever, because the difference that made that makes nowadays to being able to store really quite huge amounts of information.
We used to walk around with these, in the room with a tech god if they had a.
That's right.
Had some cartridges back in the day. What I was going to say about this, Pauline, is that I've always had a contract for forever, the last 10 years, where I have my own Wi-Fi hotspot. Is that I have enough data, and it's the only reason I need data, because I don't need it the rest of the time particularly. Is that when I walk into a venue, and so much of my work is going to be about social media, and I don't want to go to a place where they have filtered Facebook or they've filtered Twitter, so you can't
absolutely.
So
and that was an approach that John Popham took very early on as well, when he was doing live streaming. As soon as the kind of MiFi devices appeared, John had one of those before most of us had even heard of them, to be honest.
Until
it was difficult. We now take it almost for granted that you can use your phone as a hotspot, but it wasn't something that was done widely back when and we're talking about the days when 3G was a new thing, and he had these devices that gave him his own connectivity. It was like a miracle.
It's important to exceed people's expectations.
Yes.
That's what it is. So that so the part of what is the positive feedback, if there is any, when I go and do my things, is that I just didn't cause any fuss.
Also, I would say in your situation, if you're going in saying how to stay safe on the internet, but oh dear, why can't I get onto the internet today? Then it doesn't give confidence in your core message even, I think.
And also, I think maybe because we're nearly at the end now, aren't we? I can move this back to, I still go into schools where, as I'm in the front desk, they say, can we take your phone off you, Simon? Or can you put your phone away? And there is a lot of stuff going on there. And sometimes when I'm feeling kind of, that I've got the energy for it, why is that? So you don't take any pictures of the children. If you have booked me to come into your school and you suspect that's what I'm going to do, then you're doing the wrong thing. Our policies that talk about the implications, ramifications, but also there's a camera on my laptop, which is going to be fatal. It is a nonsensical thing.
Yeah.
So more importantly, all of the work that I do with children is waving a device around all the time and pulling up the settings on WhatsApp and stuff, because how else are you going to teach about privacy and about making choices if you don't have the device there? So that takes us nicely back to what we really need to be doing. It's just saying Safer Internet Day has been a day when adults share their online experience with vulnerable people, our elderly or older friends and clients and so on, and say, this is how I use my device. This is how I use my online experience to enhance it and to make new connections and to share information and to have relationships and to have friendships and so on. And I think we sort of typify quite a lot of that, which is that John and I were friends and we've just become kind of working colleagues across. Although we've never met each other, so it's face to face and so on. These things matter.
Absolutely,
true thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, let's cover one more story.
One more
I think,
story.
Sweyn, because it's about broadband costs. I can just get to the page on the
firms urged to offer.
Yes, that's the one. Because I think it's becoming more urgent. Prices of things are going up, and fuel and stuff is going to be becoming more expensive for everybody. So broadband being essential now, not a luxury. I think it's good to draw attention to this. So this was a story from the BBC talking about how media regulator Ofcom has urged all broadband firms to support low-income homes by offering discounted packages known as social tariffs. They found that only 55,000 out of 4.2 million homes in receipt of universal credit are using discounted rates, which is a bit alarming. And it means that households and benefits are missing out on an average yearly broadband saving of £144 each, which is considerable when you look at the what they can gain from being online. Obviously, it says, many families are facing added pressure from the cost of living crisis. And Ofcom wants more companies to offer help to low-income households and to make it clearer how people can switch to cheaper deals. It said that 84% of people receiving benefits were unaware of the social tariff packages, and they've seen limited evidence of providers actively promoting their social tariffs to eligible customers, while deals do not generally feature in broadband advertising or price comparison website searches. They point out, Ofcom, that a standard commercial broadband package costs an unemployed person claiming universal credit an average of £27 per month, or 8.3% of their monthly disposable income, whereas the social tariff package of £15 would almost halve this broadband cost and use up 4.6% of disposable income. It does mention the 6 broadband providers who offer at least one social tariffs: BT, Community Fibre, G Network, Hyperoptic, Kcom and Virgin Media O2. And they're offering a social tariff deal between £10 and £20 a month. But other firms, EE, PlusNet, Shell, Sky, TalkTalk and Vodafone are named, do not. And they're now calling on all broadband firms to support struggling households by introducing their own social tariffs and promoting them more widely, making it swift and simple for customers to sign up. The communications director at Ofcom, Lindsay Fussell, told the BBC that too many broadband firms are failing in their moral imperative to either promote or offer social tariffs, and they're expecting companies to step up support for those on low incomes. TalkTalk, in its mitigation, said that it had a partnership with the Department for Work and Pensions, which offers free connectivity for 6 months. Vodafone UK said its cheapest broadband was priced at £18 per month, and this deal was available to all families. And a spokesperson for EE said its Home Essentials package makes access to fast, reliable broadband more affordable for those who need it the most. So I think the companies are aware, but they just need a bit of more encouragement. And added to that, the next story, Sweyn, was actually listing from the Ofcom site the cheaper broadband and phone packages. So we will put that on the on the Facebook. Yeah. So sorry, YouTube notes after the show. But here, as you can see on screen, it lists the cheaper broadband and phone packages, the broadband services. If you scroll down, Sweyn, we can see a table with each of the products and then what the costs are. And I think, you know, I don't know about you guys, I find my phone bill and my broadband bill sometimes very opaque and not easy to understand. So the clearer this is, the better for anybody who needs that.
That's a great resource there with the list of the various tariffs that are available. I must confess, I didn't realize these were a thing until you highlighted this. So that's really good to know.
Absolutely. And that brings us right to the end of the show. So thanks once again, Simon, for joining us. A great guest as usual.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And as usual, when people, if and when people want to find you online, what's the best place?
The easiest place to find me, I think, is probably via my website, because there is a contact on that. And then there is also links to my other social media sitting on the site.
So that's
there'll be a link to that on the YouTube
UK. Yeah.
details.
On the,
SlimFinUK.com.
Great. Well, thanks again, and hope you have a great week, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.
Have a good week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go.